Hardcore Uprising.
For what it's worth, Hardcore Uprising is definitely my favorite Contra game. It's not like I had any doubts, but I went back to check just to make sure, and yeah, I wasn't wrong this time. The originals, especially the arcade versions, are still fun for what they are. It's just that when I feel like playing a classic arcade shooter, I'll probably just go for Metal Slug again. You can never go wrong with Metal Slug, can you? Look at these animations. Why is that dude spinning like that? I am not one to bring up old console war nonsense, cause honestly both sides are spoiled for choice, especially compared to today. But anyone who prefers Contra 3 over Contra Hardcore must be on the wrong side of the spectrum. You don't even have to go further than the intro to know why that is just a wrong opinion. Oh, I guess I just pop out of nowhere. Okay. Am I coming by helicopter or... Oh shit! Get out of the way! I'm a cyber werewolf wearing jeans with a Gatling gun for an arm! Even the dogs are out to get me. That's fucked up. Look at that robot! It's doing front flips! All jokes aside, these games released 2 years apart, so the difference is understandable. Still, if Hardcore Uprising didn't exist, this one would probably still be my favorite. It's the blast processing power that does it for me, you know? The same goes for Castlevania Bloodlines, but that is a topic for another time. I probably won't have another opportunity to talk about this, so I might as well just say it here too. Censorship and forced original changes suck, but Probotector, the European version of Hardcore, is a pretty interesting turn of events on censorship. Yeah, you lose the hot girl and the cyborg wolf in jeans, but all the robot designs here are cool, so I'll allow it. Also, shout outs to Contra 4. Not much else to say about that one, just that the game is awesome, but the format really makes it hard to play on anything that isn't the intended hardware. You might be wondering why I'm randomly talking about this right now, but considering the recent effort that Konami is putting on trying to get back into the game of games, I feel like it's inevitable that Hardcore Uprising would get the comeback that it deserves. At least that's what I was saying back in 2019, around the time they released the Contra Anniversary Collection, but it seems that they forgot about it. So here I am, hoping that I can at least bring back some awareness to this great game, when it's highly possible that they might bring it back sometime soon. They just did a pretty good job with the Castlevania Dominus Collection, and it would be a great way to bring back the series. So in case that happens, it is why you should play Hardcore Uprising. First of all, in case the art style didn't give it away, this was entirely developed by Arc System Works, years before Guilty Gear Strive and even Guilty Gear Xrd. This was released back in 2011, during the dormant days of Daisuke Shiwatari, when Arc System Works was fully invested on their new fighting game series, BlazBlue. In case you aren't familiar with him, Daisuke is that man behind Guilty Gear. Often when talking about the creation process of games, this usually refers to the main person in charge of the team, but here it was really him behind Guilty Gear, as he was the main writer, illustrator and composer for the series for the longest time. Before starting the next step for Guilty Gear, Daisuke became involved with the development of Hardcore Uprising, and as expected of such a prolific creator, he took the roles of art director, character designer and composer, and it really shows. Yep, these are just Soul and friends again. It's like he used this as practice to what a modern Guilty Gear would look like. With this drastic difference in tone and style, it's no wonder that they just came out saying that this was directly related with Contra and was to be its own franchise. This might all seem unnecessary exposition to what really matters, but the ultimate point that I'm trying to make here is that Hardcore Uprising is to Contra the same way Tekken Force is to beat-em-ups.
Chicken.
Okay, no, that doesn't make much sense, but you get where I'm coming from, right? Maybe a better example would be to say how Streets of Rage 4 is more of a fighting game than a beat 'em up. But that also opens up another complicated discussion, so let's just focus on that general idea that other genres could do well by getting inspired by the intense nature of the classic 1v1 fighting game. Hardcore Uprising took that concept and turned a Contra game as close it could to a fighting game, specifically those of the air dashing variety. This is why I believe there wasn't a better developer to try their hand at the Contra franchise than Arc System Works, known for their hardcore audience and love for rock and heavy metal. Hear me out. When you boil down the essence of Contra, what do you get? Movement and shooting, right? But while all the sequels only focused on making the shooting more complex, they forgot about the movement. Contra was mostly known for its difficulty, and there is only so much you can do while keeping movement so basic. Shoutouts once again for Contra 4, who tried something different regarding that, but I believe the unconventional format ends up superseding the gameplay as the main focus point. By incorporating movement options from fighting games, such as running, air dashing and deflecting, they didn't just artificially raise the difficulty curve, but expanded the diversity on player expression. Beginner players might move more carefully during their first run through the game, shooting everything that moves so that no stray bullet hits them, but when you compare that to what advanced players might be doing, and it's like, out of my way losers, got places to be, fast as fuck! Speaking of the difference between casual and expert players, this is a great opportunity to go into the differences between the two available game modes. The arcade mode is what you would expect. All standard abilities are unlocked, and you start with a set number of lives, so you must survive until the end with just your wits. This might be too hard for someone who is just starting, specifically if they never played the Contra game before, so as a counterpart, there is the alternative Rising mode. While exactly the same as the arcade mode in terms of stages, here you can permanently level up your character by buying extra abilities with the use of the unfortunately abbreviated Contra points, which are acquired at the end of each stage and based on your score to incentivize better gameplay or better rewards. All the characters in this mode begin stripped of even their basics, forcing you to buy such skills like dodging and deflecting, but in return, you can go much further beyond what it's capable in the arcade mode. You can increase your health and lives for an easier time, but say that you want to pick up weapons to be instantly at level 3 instead of being forced to grab 2 other copies without getting hit. You can buy that. Want to run faster, get an extra jump or an extra air dash before touching the floor again? Go crazy! This allows a more comfortable experience for novice players while still keeping it interesting for veterans, which can use this to pull even more ridiculous stunts with the extra power only available on this mode. The good thing here is that after buying everything, if you want to customize your experience, you can turn off individual upgrades so you can make your own challenges. It's important to note that each character carries their own currency, so if you want to try someone else, you'll have to use them with a bare minimum until you can get something from the shop, which I guess is a way to get accustomed to their differences without feeling overpowered from the start. As for what those differences are, for 3 of the 5 characters, it's just their movement speed and how much base health they have, while the other 2 actually have some extra skills. Sayuri is a samurai that absolutely melts everything at close range, but she can also send enemies flying and throw powerful sword beams that can go through walls. While Leviathan, on the other hand, is the craziest character of them all, as he maintains his moveset as a boss, so he can slide, throw bombs, and pull somersaults, but his life is constantly on the line as he dies with just one hit, like in the original games. Unfortunately, as it was the thing at the time, besides the 2 main characters, if you wanted to play as the other 3, well, you were forced to pay some extra bucks out of your pocket. Of course, this is not a perfect game, so that is not even the worst part of it, as maybe in trying to keep up with the spirit of the franchise, there are some questionable design choices sprinkled throughout. Yes, this is a short game and it's meant to be highly replayable, with its difficulty coming from learning its many patterns, but there is definitely some of that Contra bullshit here to kill you seemingly out of nowhere if you don't know about it. They either give you a direct warning and ample time to react, or they just pop a prompt to jump out of nowhere, and welp, that's one life lost to the pits. The best example of this is how the first stage ends by forcing you to ride off a cliff and jump into an helicopter, which is pretty fucking cool, but it comes out of nowhere and you'll probably overshoot it and die. And I say this because I still die here sometimes because of the size of the rail you must grab. The game even ends with you having to do a similar jump after a crazy final boss, and if this is your last life and you miss it, that's it. Game over, man. As for the art style, the Arc System Works of the time was still far from the striking style used for Guilty Gear Xrd, and that is fine, they were trying their best here. But if there is something to be disappointed in, is on the severe lack of alien elements to the setting. It's overall a pretty clean outlook on the series, where most of the opposing forces are robots, and all of that late 80s grotesque horror seems to have been phased out completely. Another one of the problems is the sound, and I don't mean the music, cause Daisuke came out with some of the best tracks in the series. I mean the actual sound design, from the mixing to the voice acting and the sound effects that they used. There are only English voices available, and the cast seemed to be comprised of people whose only voice work was for this game. This resulted in some funky lines, but the real problem is how the audio is mixed. If you think that Sonic Adventure 2 was the worst for that, well, you try to understand what the characters are saying half of the time while they keep talking over each other. Even worse is that if you try to raise the voices in the sound options, now all the voices are too loud, and that also includes the enemies, so I hope you like hearing the same dead bark on repeat, like some sort of shitpost.
Spread shot.
You wanna know why this one is actually the best one? Because they don't shoot with their feet up while on the ground. No, seriously, is this some tactical maneuver I'm not aware of? Did Big Boss know of this? When the boss was fighting in the World War II, was she doing this too? Anyway, this would be the part where I would tell you to go play it for yourself, but unfortunately this only released digitally for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and with one of those two options not available anymore, and the other is owning an Xbox, well, the game is basically lost forever. Okay, no, you can still play it on the newest Xbox One Series something, but you can also emulate it fairly easily, and it runs pretty good with any decent PC. If anything, go listen to the soundtrack, cause Daisuke really came out with some bangers for this. The track for the last stage in particular fucks specifically hard, and if you input the Konami code on the loading screen for the first stage, you get to hear a special rendition of the classical jungle theme of the original Contra. I really hope they come back with this one, even if it's just a remaster. The resolution on the characters is really low, and because they are sprites, it means that without the original files, emulation enhancements won't help on this particular case. The best outcome would be a sequel with the graphical quality of the current Arc System Works, but that is a far-off dream for now. And while we're at it, port fucking Harmony of Despair already. I know that one is entirely on Konami hands, but come on, it was the stupidest idea for a Castlevania game, but it somehow worked. Put it in a nice package with the old content, plus some extras, and give it a nice price. It's basically free money, Konami, I know you need that right now. God damn it, if I manage to force a remaster of Freedom Wars into existence, anything is possible right now. I haven't been trying that hard for the Bloodborne remaster, because I was focusing so hard on Freedom Wars for all this time, but now that I'm free, I should put that next on my list. Until then, I will see you on the next one.